The movie begins with James driving on a quiet, empty road. Everything seems calm until he gets distracted for a moment. Suddenly, he almost hits a woman on the road. At the same time, he accidentally breaks her ladder. James feels really bad about what happened. He admits his mistake and offers to help fix it. The woman says she was already going back to a place called Silent Hill. She points to a hotel far away, barely visible through the fog. After talking for a bit, James introduces himself and offers to drive her home as a way to say sorry. She agrees. As they drive, they talk about the strange summer storms in the area. But then, everything suddenly changes. The mood becomes dark. James starts acting strange, confused, and a little angry. Out of nowhere, they begin to argue. The argument quickly turns violent. There is shouting, a struggle, and then silence. The woman disappears into the night later. James looks exhausted, like he hasn't slept for days. Someone with him tries to calm him down. They tell him to stop blaming himself and remind him that he has an important appointment the next morning. Then comes a voice soft, haunting, and impossible to ignore. It's Mary's voice. She's pleading with him to come back, telling him something terrible has happened. James is completely consumed by it. He whispers apologies to her memory, tormented by guilt, replaying every moment they ever shared in this very town. The whole world seems to be telling him to move on, but James simply cannot let go. He drifts through the heavy mist, no longer sure what's real and what isn't. Then just like that, he snaps back. He calls out into the fog, and a stranger steps forward. She asks him to help her with some heavy bags and casually explains that the thick haze all around them is smoke from summer forest fires. Nothing supernatural about it. James opens up just enough to admit there's someone he desperately needs to find. But the woman warns him that flooding has pushed everyone out of the town. James doesn't care, he's going in anyway. Before they part ways, she introduces herself as Angela.
Wait. You don't find who you're looking for. You can always come back and find me. I'm Angela.
Angela. Sure.
And something about their brief conversation leaves James deeply unsettled as he walks further into the fog. Alone again, his mind pulls him back to a quieter time. He hears himself asking Mary whether she'd ever want to live in a place like this. She hesitates, admitting she's afraid her true self might push him away. But James is firm. He promises her nothing about her could ever scare him. He swears he'll never leave her side.
I promise you.
The memory dissolves, and all that's left is a faint apology echoing in the dark. James grabs his head as sharp pain brings him crashing back to the present. Somewhere nearby, Angela is whispering, insisting the tragedy is completely her own fault. She huddles in the shadows and tells James she's basically a ghost now. She begs him to stay quiet, terrified that something dark is closing in on her again. James makes a phone call and tells his contact exactly where he is, Silent Hill, and that finding Mary is the only thing that matters. The voice on the other end tells him coldly that his home is gone, before he can process that. The moment dissolves into something completely surreal. A cocktail party, of all things. Guests are chatting warmly about Mary, calling her the apple of her father's eye. They speak of a man named Joshua Crane, a powerful, commanding figure, who apparently helped bring structure to their chaotic lives. The party disappears in an instant, replaced by the cold mechanical voice of an emergency broadcast ordering every resident to evacuate immediately.
Who is that?
This is not a test. James pushes through the fog, guided by strange mechanical sounds, until he hears something more urgent, a desperate cry nearby. A vision of Mary appears, smiling at him from the dark. It bleeds into a memory of the two of them packing boxes together, laughing, close. But the warmth shatters into a terrified scream, and an unknown voice cuts through the noise, warning James that he's broken some kind of protocol and is now in serious trouble. Another memory surfaces, a crowd of people showing up unannounced at his home. 20 of them. James is thrown off, but Mary calmly explains they're the family that raised her. Then she looks at him and quietly asks if the two of them can just focus on each other. Reality pulls him back again. He runs into a confused man who can't understand why James isn't sick like everyone else in town. The man describes Silent Hill as one big cemetery now. Fires, madness, total collapse. He's almost impressed that James is still standing. When James mentions he's a painter, the man asks him something unexpected.
You ever have weird dreams? Shit that goes on in there. You couldn't handle it.
And according to him, a town without people isn't a nightmare, it's paradise. James investigates a strange sound and discovers a young girl hiding behind a metal gate. She says her name is Laura. James pleads with her to squeeze through the bars so they can help her. But before anyone can make a move, Laura stomps on Eddie's hand and hurls an insult at him that sets him off completely. Then something far worse than Eddie's temper shows up. A massive creature tears itself out of the shadows, and suddenly everyone is running. Once the chaos settles, James finally catches up with Laura and demands answers. But the girl is cold and cutting. She tells James that trying to save Mary is pointless, that she's already gone, and that this place is a prison with no exit. Eddie pushes James to walk away. Laura disappears into the fog before he can say another word. A little while later, James spots Laura again, perched casually on top of a concrete wall like nothing happened. She tells him about a crawling thing that frightened her earlier, speaking about it the same way someone might describe a bad commute. Then, without any warning at all, she jumps. She just trusts James to catch her, and he does. But then she drops a bombshell. Mary gave her the doll she's been holding before James can even react. The situation spirals, and Laura vanishes into the fog again while he stands there screaming after her. Not long after that, a mysterious woman steps out from the shadows, watching James with skeptical eyes. She wants to know what he's doing in a cursed town and what exactly his plan is for getting out. James admits he's not even sure if his girlfriend is alive, but he's not leaving without finding her. That's enough for the woman. She decides to stick with him, if only for safety. She notes that he looks completely wrecked and wastes no time dragging him away as monsters begin to close in. The two sprint through dark, crumbling corridors, the woman leading the way through the industrial wreckage of the town while James struggles to keep up. They don't stop, don't look back, just run. Eventually, the danger fades enough for them to breathe. The woman checks James for injuries and drops some bad news. The hospital entrance ahead is completely sealed. Still, they press forward. Inside a hospital office, James digs through old files until he finds something that stops him cold. Medical records for a patient admitted with severe hemorrhaging and fever. The name on the file, Mary Crane, daughter of Joshua Crane, the fanatic cult leader. The records revealed that the cult had been drugging patients to keep control over them. The moment the words sink in, a vision explodes through James's mind. Mary, screaming in absolute terror, the hallucination unravels into a bloody, disorienting nightmare. And James barely has time to grab his companion before another threat comes charging toward them. They run again, diving into a safe room where they finally allow themselves to collapse. James checks the woman over, and she returns the gesture. Then she does something unexpected. She brings up what neither of them has said out loud. She looks exactly like Mary. James doesn't engage. He tells her to stay hidden downstairs and promises they'll get out of Silent Hill together. Then he heads upstairs and finds Laura lurking in the dark. He demands to know where Mary is. Laura doesn't flinch. She mocks him, tells him Mary died feeling unloved and abandoned, and says it's far too late for anyone to be saved. A voice taunts him from somewhere. No one said this would be easy. James pounds on a locked door, shouting for Laura to open it.
Open the door!
Another voice sneers at him. What exactly did you expect to find here? Then everything goes sideways. A doctor appears and wakes James from what turns out to be a delirious nightmare.
What? What's going on? What's going on? Where am I? Where am I?
Brookhaven Hospital.
James jolts awake, demanding to know where Mary is. The doctor tells him flatly, Mary has been dead for months. He urges James to commit to his recovery and face reality. And then a memory crawls to the surface, one James has clearly been trying to bury. He's sitting in the dark, telling someone to pack a bag and leave with him right now. He's shaking, raving about watching monsters tear a girl apart in the street. The woman with him reveals she's been carrying the weight of childhood abuse her whole life. James gives her an ultimatum, walk out the door with him. She refuses. She tells him he's disgusted by her damaged past, and that she hid the truth because she knew he'd leave if he found out. She reminds him of every promise he broke. Cut to a hospital room, a nurse asks about the patient's condition. The doctor says quietly that James lost his grip on reality after Mary died. Back in the delusion, a voice nudges James toward a choice. He has to decide what's real. He eventually finds the woman who looks so much like his wife. She tells him again her name is Maria, not Mary. She begs him to stay. But when James turns to walk away, Maria chases him through the corridor, desperate pleading. She blocks the elevator and makes one final appeal. Come back, accept his freedom, stop torturing himself. James snaps. He tells her Mary is still alive to him. He sees Maria for what she is, something standing between him and the truth, and he says goodbye for the last time. Maria's scream follows him into the dark. After a long silence, Laura is there again waiting. The games are over, she says. She challenges James to finally face the truth. She forces him to remember Mary's full name, insisting there's nothing left to hide. Then a vision of Mary appears, trapped behind bars, screaming that what James did was unforgivable, begging for someone to leave her alone. James tears after the vision through the twisting corridors, calling her name. But the image tells him to let go, and just like that, the wall breaks. The truth surfaces at last. Mary has been dead for months. James stands beside her bed now, drowning in guilt. Mary tells him gently that nothing he could have done would have changed things. She reveals how much damage her father's cruelty caused throughout her life. She asks James to help her lie down, and then with her body consumed by pain and no hope left, she begs him to end it, to free her. And James, overcome with grief and love, does what she asked. The memory slowly fades into a quiet confession. James admits that his own selfishness stopped him from giving her peace earlier. Now, ready to be with her again, he drives his car into the water and promises he will never let go. Then everything resets. James is suddenly standing on a sidewalk in the daylight. He looks confused, like he doesn't know where he is. He sees a woman having trouble with a broken suitcase and stops to help her. He says sorry for the trouble. She introduces herself and the name shocks him.
I'm
Mary.
She notices his art tools and asks what he does for work. James looks at her for a moment. "I'm a painter," he says. And that's where the story ends. Not with clear answers, but with a new beginning. Maybe even a second chance. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe. See you in the next video.